Environmental Climate Change News Digest, now on Weather Buff. I am Jack Knack, the Weather Medic, the Doctor of Weather, with your Weather Buff Environmental Climate Change News Digest on articles that I have been reading. Links for these articles can be found in the description. Well, from the journal Nature, new research finds human activity has caused temperatures in Greenland to rise far beyond levels seen in the 20th century. Without immediate action to stop global heating, Greenland's melting glaciers will raise sea levels by 20 inches by the end of the century, flooding coastal communities around the world. Researchers studying ice cores found the years 2010 through 2019 to be the warmest for Greenland's ice sheet in 1,000 years. Temperatures in some parts of Greenland now average 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Talking about the ozone layer, our planet's ozone layer is showing that it can repair itself from the brink of destruction. In 1987, the many countries that signed this Montreal Protocol, that's a global cooperation in the fight against planet-warming chlorofluorocarbons, the two ozone holes over the Arctic and Antarctica will be fully recovered by the year 2066. This will prevent Earth from heating up by an estimated 0.5 to 0.9 of a degree Fahrenheit. While less than a degree doesn't sound like a big deal, it's actually huge. 0.9 of a degree of warming could mean that we are almost 3 times as likely to face life-threatening extreme heat. Let's talk about green hydrogen. A new factory in South Texas will make clean, efficient fuel out of water. The $4 billion facility will use wind and solar power in a process called electrolysis to turn water into green hydrogen. Now, hydrogen power is extremely reliable, very efficient, and inexpensive energy to run our homes. Well, this plant's objective plan is to produce clean rocket fuel for Elon Musk, with the green hydrogen being stored in salt caves. Well, 2022 was another record hot year. Experts say we must prepare for more climate-related disasters. Well, this is what scientists have expected, and it's not good as the climate summaries for 2022 were released. Last year was a La Nina year, which usually means colder temperatures as a natural process transfers more heat from the atmosphere into the ocean. Even still, it was the 5th warmest year on record, tying 2015, and the last 8 years have been the warmest recorded globally. 2022 was the warmest year on record for ocean heat content. Antarctic sea ice also set a record for its lowest extent. This means Earth in 2022 was about 2 degrees Fahrenheit, about 1.11 degrees Celsius, warmer than the late 19th century average. Plus, in 2022, NASA scientists, as well as international scientists, determined that carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide, all greenhouse gases, well, their emissions were the highest on record. The reason for the warming trend is that human activities continue to pump enormous amounts of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, and the long-term planetary impacts will also continue. Well, looking ahead, global average surface temperatures in 2023 are most likely to be slightly warmer than 2022, but are unlikely to set an all-time record, given the lingering La Nina conditions in the first half of the year. The Arctic region continues to experience the strongest warming trends close to 4 times the global average. Well, communities around the world are experiencing impacts scientists see as connected to the warming atmosphere and ocean. Climate change has intensified rainfall and tropical storms, deepened the severity of droughts, and increased the impact of storm surges. Last year brought torrential monsoon rains that devastated Pakistan, as well as a persistent mega drought in the United States Southwest. In September, Hurricane Ian became one of the strongest and costliest hurricanes to strike the continental United States and wiped out a large portion of Southwest Florida. Let's talk about billion-dollar weather disasters. In 2022, there were 18 billion plus weather dollar disasters and climate disaster events in the United States, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And for those in New York State, this does not include the multi-billion-dollar nuclear bailout disaster. Now we're going to talk about Exxon. They made breathtakingly accurate climate predictions in the 1970s and 1980s. The company drove some of the leading science of the era, only to publicly dismiss global heating. Exxon predicted rising temperatures and emissions that nearly matched what took place. This study was published in Science. The oil giant Exxon privately predicted global warming correctly and skillfully, only then to spend decades publicly rubbishing such science in order to protect its core business. Exxon scientists were uncannily accurate in their projections from the 1970s onwards, predicting an upward curve of global temperatures and carbon dioxide emissions that is close to matching what actually occurred as the world heated up at a pace not seen in millions of years. This research analyzed more than 100 internal documents and peer-reviewed scientific publications, either produced in-house by Exxon scientists and managers or co-authored by Exxon scientists and independent publications between 1977 and 2014. Well, the problem is Exxon, you put it in writing. And as the saying goes, don't write it down if you could say it. Don't say it if you could wink. And don't wink if you could just tip your hat. Let's talk about the eruption of Tonga's underwater volcano in 2022, because this might cause global temperatures to rise, raising the risk that at least 1 year in the next 5 will temporarily exceed the 1.5 degrees Celsius warming threshold, new research finds. And the research was in Nature Climate Change. Well, most large eruptions are dominated by their sulfur dioxide emissions, which cool the planet temporarily as they scatter incoming sunlight. Well, this Tonga eruption was unusual because instead it released a large amount of water vapor into the stratosphere to the height of 35 miles. And water vapor is a powerful greenhouse gas, and it's really not found in the stratosphere, just in trace amounts. But the sulfur dioxide emissions, it put very little sulfur dioxide emissions in the atmosphere. So the blast projected very little sulfur dioxide aerosols into the stratosphere. And of course, the stratosphere is a layer in the atmosphere beginning around 4 to 12 miles above the surface of the Earth and extends upwards for about that 31-mile mark. And this expelled it 35 miles. Meanwhile, this copious amounts of water that got expelled into the stratosphere raised the vapor content of the stratosphere 10 to 15%, enough water to fill 58,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Now, like I said before, the stratosphere contains historically very little water vapor. Water vapor in the stratosphere takes a long time to get out of the stratosphere, probably 5 to 10 years. So this study went on to say that before the eruption, there was a 50-50 chance that global temperatures would exceed 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels at least once by 2026. Now the likelihood of exceeding the 1.5 degrees Celsius threshold is increased by 7 percentage points to 57%, making this event more likely than not. Well, let's talk about some garbage and some plastic. Roads across the country some of them are being paved with plastic, and the Pew charitable trusts have found that roads across the country are literally being paved with garbage. 5 states, Missouri, Virginia, Pennsylvania, California, and Hawaii, have launched new projects aimed at making durable, structurally sound highways out of grocery bags, printer ink cartridges, and other waste. It's early on, but state officials believe the roads, which are part asphalt, part plastic trash, may last longer than traditionally made highways. Talking about highways, we have talk about a solar-powered car just broke a major world record. This new sun-powered electric vehicle just set the Guinness World Record for the fastest 600-mile-plus journey on a single charge. The 621-mile journey was completed in just under 12 hours by the SunSwift 7, a solar-powered vehicle that draws energy from the solar panels on its roof and hood. The Sunset isn't street legal, and it's definitely not cheap, but more affordable options are coming. By 2025, drivers should be able to buy a sun-powered car for about $32,000. Let's talk about some icebergs. Over the past month, on exceptionally clear days in Antarctica, sea ice declined. So far in the 2022-2023 season has been especially steep. In fact, according to the National Snow and Ice Data Center, the extent of Antarctic sea ice at the end of December 2022 was the lowest in 45 years of satellite records. And now we're going to take a look at a picture from NASA of that Arctic ice. Finally, believe it or not, there's a Austrian startup called Archeon, and it's using a microbe found in an underwater volcano to make food. It's a high temperature, high pressure environment with very little nutrients, where microbes feed off the nutrients in the gas from the underwater volcano. Well, Archeon is harnessing that power to turn carbon dioxide emissions into amino acids, using it in gas fermentation to transform the harmful emissions into food. Archeon's technology offers the possibility of flipping the whole thing on its head, and rather than producing carbon dioxide to make food, it's making food from carbon dioxide. Archeon's process produces amino acids, the building blocks of protein, in powdered form. The end product could be sold for use in protein powders and alternative protein products scheduled for market in 2026, or to the cosmetic industry scheduled for the market in 2024. There are also companies like Berlin's Second Circle, which is using gas fermentation and a microbe found in horse manure to transfer carbon dioxide into chemicals to use in the chemical industry. Wow. I'm just thankful that the horse manure is not being used to make cosmetics or protein powder. Well, if you'd like to see more of these posts or would like to say thanks for this one, please consider becoming a supporter. To support the channel, go to patreon.com/WXMedic. I am Jack Knack, the Weather Medic, the Doctor of Weather. Thank you for making Weather Buff a part of your day. Good day, everyone.
Weather Buff.